Right, hello everybody. This is episode 2. This is going to be 3% better than the last one, so I'm hoping that I can keep on track of what the fuck I was talking about and I don't lose any more viewers. I got 15 views on my last video. Not too bad. Not too shabby for the first time go around. I thought I'd throw in a few different little funny things. I think what I'm going to do is start working from the past and get to this 34-year-old man who you can tell is losing his hair right through the ball cap line. And I won't show you the back of my head because that's not any prettier. And so the biggest fight for me is going to be keeping you interested. I'm not that interesting of a human being. I'm a 5'6" white male, and I don't have a lot of cool things that I do. And in order to keep myself sane, I've been trying to find as many little different outlets as possible. And I told you my wife would be the only viewer. My sister gave me a bunch of pieces of advice that I'm going to try to follow up on. So I've switched up the setting a little bit. I got the Batman sign over there. My wife's still making a bunch of fucking noise upstairs. So some things aren't going to change here. Could be the very same video. So what I want to do is start off this episode. I think I'm going to start doing a little different routine just because of the nature of how uncomfortable I was last time. I'm going to get completely shit-faced and see how it rolls. And so I'd like to start the episode with reviewing a beer. I will not show the brand, but it starts with an L. They're well known for their summer shandiest of beers. But this one is a toasted, some would say not a rock but a bock. I have no idea what the law is here. I don't know what I can and cannot promote or not promote. But it's a beer. The review is, I feel like I taste malt, and it's pretty good. All right, let's move on. And so yeah, what I'm going to start doing is probably work my way from being a kid into where I'm at today, kind of in between, working through a few different little side stories and opinions that I find to be funny. So I want to start with myself in elementary school. At some point, I may go back further, coming out of my mom's little fat puss, but I won't today. I remember in elementary school having a giant crush on a girl. I was in, oh my God, a little school right outside the city, like the suburbs of Chicago, and this girl's name was Tiffany, and oh my God, she's a little brown-skinned woman. Who knew I would end up fucking marrying one? You know, the brown skin. I like it. I got a mossy oak shirt. I'm a little white guy from the fucking farm, and I married a minority. What a shame, you know? I'm just kidding. I think God loves everybody. And but this girl Tiffany, I always just didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I don't think that she ever knew that I even really liked her. And it sucked because I think she could have been a great girlfriend. You know, 4 years old was a good time to start dating, I thought. And she just didn't feel the same. And the worst part about that is after my older brother found out that I liked Tiffany, he goes, "You like the girl from the Clifford book?" And I went, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I was like, "Oh my God. I like a cartoon." "No, I don't like a cartoon." "Oh my God, that's gross." And that kind of leads me into the elementary portion of my life. That's really all I remember about like preschool or kindergarten, whatever that was the liking a brown-skinned girl. And my older brother goes, "She's fucking a big red dog," basically. I mean, that's insinuated anyway. And it's insinuated throughout the book as well. But we left that area, a place, a little town called Godley we lived in, where my father would kind of come in and out of our lives a little bit. You know, he wasn't well liked by my grandmother, whose house it was, and it was a nice little house. I remember that house somewhat vividly. One time I'm this is how smart Big Shane is, 5'6". Big Shane was butt fucking naked, taking a bath, and I got done with the bath. And next thing you know, I can't unlock the door. The door's unlocked. No idea how, no idea why. And I'm standing there in a towel and I'm knocking on the door and I'm yelling. I go, I can't unlock the door. And it's because it's locked from my side. I locked the fucking thing. It's probably just a turn or a push button thing. No idea how it worked. So confusing. The 1990s were a crazy time for locks, apparently. And next thing you know, they had, from my memory, and I was corrected on some of the things in my first video, which I will not put up here. That I will not be corrected on my own fucking show. Okay, Mandy, fuck you. That being said, I remember a fireman opening the door, and I'm standing there, with my little peepee under my towel, just confused as all hell, like what the fuck just happened. But hey, what are you gonna do? I didn't know how to open a door. I just couldn't. And so that kind of reminds me, because like a lot of my memories are from that bathroom, and I've never really told anybody this, and if I have, I've been drinking. And the funniest thing I've ever remembered was, and my cousins, if they ever see this, which they never will, they don't even fucking call me. Fuck you. The worst part is that every time that I think about that house, I think about us kids being in the tub together. We're all so young, like we're 5 and under, and I remember just shitting in that tub. We're all in the tub together, and I just remember going, ugh, just fucking pushing the fucking thing out, and it riding up, and then sneaking out my ass. Kind of probably went in between my nuts or something, and I never saw the thing. I never remember seeing a turd. I felt that fucking thing kick out, and I never saw anybody say anything, any of my parents saying anything. My grandmother never went, who took a shit in the fucking tub? Nothing. That tub just sucked that turd down. I don't know. Good plumbing. Good plumbing. I have no idea. No one said a word. It's been 30 years since that happened, and snake's out of the bag now. So our cat's out of the bag. I don't even know the fucking phrase. But that was my favorite thing, thinking about how much and how tough that was to just not like run out of the bathtub going, I just shit on my whole family. I got to get the hell out of here. But no one ever said anything. I never got in trouble. I would have been in probably some decent trouble for that, but never did. Never got in trouble. I remember my dad coming in and out a couple times, shit-faced, and him calling me a pussy one time because I was walking down this rocky little side street, and we're going to go play catch or something at the playground, and I just remember me going like, oh, it's so sunny. Oh, it's so sunny, kind of squinting. He goes, what are you squinting for? I go, my eyes hurt. He goes, don't be a fucking pussy. Or he didn't say maybe the F word, but don't be a pussy. And I was like, okay, I don't know what else to be. I'm a pussy. And so not a lot of great memories, Some pretty fun, but not a lot. I remember making out with the next door neighbor girls quite a bit. And me and my older brother, John never got any of the kissing. I did. I was a little cutie. And I would make out with both of those girls and have no idea what the fuck I was doing. I just liked it. I never got a boner. I never saw any boobies. Like, not that they would have been there. And if I would have had a memory of that, I'd probably feel uncomfortable, honest to God. I just remember us kissing. I was the same age. But I remember my older brother and I would always like beg for those two to come over. Always. Like, oh, can Stephanie and Courtney please come over? And one time it got so aggressive that my mom goes, oh, yeah, they're good kids. Have them over. I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mom. And so me and John, we walk over, and we didn't even knock on the door. We just walked in. We're like, hey, can the girls come over? And they're dead. Flip the fuck out. Like, you're not just going to come in my house. You got to knock if you're going to come over. Mark, I'm trying to fuck around with your daughters, dude. I'm a dirty little 4-year-old kid, and I I got a seed growing somewhere. I'm getting real fucking nasty. And I need your daughters to come over to my house where my mom doesn't give a fuck what I do. I'm 4 years old. Give me what you got. He was not interested in giving me what he had. And that's fine. I don't know where they're at now. Probably not a good idea to look. Personally speaking. Hey, do you remember 30 years ago? Have you thought about me ever? I do. Sometimes. But, yeah, so some good memories there. Some real good memories in that place. I really enjoyed having a home. And because for a little while, we went from living there, we moved to a town called Ophim. I think it was technically Ophim, but I think we said we lived in a different town. And we went over to a guy named Pete's house, which I think I mentioned before, where the guy had no fucking working legs. And as long as my mother took care of him, then we were allowed to live in the house. And we would fuck with that old man so much. I mean, he's a cranky old prick to begin with, but I mean, he got 5 kids by a woman with no dad, no fucking money, but my mom made the best of it. We would get him pissed off, all riled up, and then he'd chase us in his scooter, and then we'd go into the laundry room. We'd get him stuck so he couldn't reverse in and out because he's trying to beat the fuck out of us. And then we'd run out laughing our asses off. You'd take a hit once in a while. He's pretty crafty for a guy with no fucking legs. But, God, that was so funny. One time, like, he was at the doctor or something like that. He's getting work done medically. Something very important, I'm sure. And next thing you know, my mom has all 5 of us kids and my stepsister, my eventual stepsister, on that cart, like just fucking tearing that cart apart, just hanging off. My mom's trying to knock us off the cart and just destroying this crippled man's machinery, and just who gives a fuck? Just, hey, I got nothing else to entertain these kids. You got no legs that work to begin with. This scooter's the best thing we've ever had. Please let us destroy it for an hour straight. And that was actually one of my favorite times because I don't have a lot of negative memories being there. I do remember when my eventual first stepdad came and started like trying to swoon my mother, and we went fishing, and they had this big, beautiful willow tree. I mean, I've never seen a willow tree so full in my life. It was gorgeous. He had his own private pond, so his house is like a little on the hill. You go down, it's a little bitty shit pond, but like an unbelievable willow tree. Gorgeous. And that fucking asshole reared back, went to go throw his line in the pond, and he caught my finger, and it just stuck in the bed of my middle finger. And then he like threw it out, and it just fucking yanked in my hand, and I got so scared, and it just dug in my hand. And asshole pulls it out, and I'm saying asshole because I just didn't care for him, so I'm going to be a little rude. 1 second. Let me try my unlabeled beer here. Still pretty good. But that was one of my other memories. It wasn't like a bad memory. It's a memory that happened, an accident. And as fun as having that many kids in one spot and fucking around, there was a lot of pressure to be there. Because it was a new school. That old man with no fucking legs, he would take me to his medical stuff so that I could run in and get him bagels. And the one time he has me actually run in, instead of just doing the drive-thru, or we went to a different place to try out bagels or some shit. He's going to get me breakfast, trying to be nice. He goes, I need you to go inside and get blueberry bagels. Pretty simple, a lot of B's, pretty simple. BBB, blueberry bagels, easy. I went in and I go, can I get strawberry bagels? I come outside and he goes, what are these? I said, I don't know. And he goes, go back in and say you want blueberry. I went in and I need berry bagels. So they got me like a mixed berry bagel. And then I brought him back out and he takes a bite because they're relatively the same color, purplish blue. And he takes a bite. He goes, "These aren't blueberry. Go inside and get blueberry." I go inside and I start crying. And they're like, "What's wrong?" I go, "I don't know what he wants." The guy told me 18,000 times blueberry, and I'm saying every other word that's close enough, eventually close enough, where he got so fucking pissed, we just left. We didn't even keep the berry or the fucking bagels that we bought. We just didn't eat. He didn't want them, so they're fucking in the trash. And I just remember crying on the way home, very upset. So when I say he doesn't have legs, his legs didn't work. He was still able to drive somehow, which now that I'm 34, I am confused on how he drove that giant fucking car. It was like an old Cutlass. It was huge. I don't remember. I mean, he had legs that did not work. My mom used to have to take gloves, I think they were frozen bees. They would thaw out and they would still be alive or some shit like that. I don't remember. I could be completely off. Take these bees and sting that fucking man in the legs and hope that that would bring some sensation. I don't know if it was the toxins in the bee sting that would help some sort of connectivity with nerves or something like that was the idea. But I remember watching her sting him in the legs to try and get some feeling in his legs. I don't know. It sounds like fucking voodoo to me. I have no idea. But then we started going to a different school. The whole family's at a different school. My youngest 3 siblings are going to daycare and shit like that, where me and my older brother John never went to daycare. And damn, fucking, that was so weird. First grade was so strange. Elementary school in general is strange when you're a new kid, because no one knows you well enough and you don't have the confidence to just go, "Well, this is who I am," or me weave through the social, groupings and decide where I want to go. No, you just go, I shave my head and I wear the same cowboy shirt every day of the week because I love this shirt and this is an easy haircut for my mother. I could have been the most unfuckable kid of all time, unless you were a Texan fan. If you lived in Texas and you saw a little cutie with his hair buzzed and a little cowboy Indian shirt that he wore, it's a fucking button up. It had the green stripe, like tan stripe, green stripe, tan stripe, and it was like cowboys and Indians all the way themed through each stripe. It was cute. Still like that shirt. I'd wear it today to work. But I mean, just looking at the pictures where I've got my 2 front teeth missing, I got my hair buzz and that shirt, and me just go, "Oh, I fucking love that shirt." It makes me laugh, like, because I wore that thing every chance I could. I remember a lot of X-Men t-shirts too. I had Beast was my favorite as a kid, then Cyclops, and then Wolverine. Just nerd shit. And it's funny to see that kind of come full circle. Like every movie that comes out is Marvel, which I love when people like Tarantino just made fun of Marvel actors or it's not real movie stars. I don't care. I'll watch every one of those fucking things. I love them. I find it to be entertaining. It's like a little kid in me, being able to see like awesome real life versions of what I wanted to be as a child. I also wanted to be a Ninja Turtle, the Blue Power Ranger, who apparently was a gay actor. Kind of fits the man a little bit. But well, speaking of that, I was never allowed to be the main character because my older brother John was always the badass. He was always the Red Ranger, or he was always. I was Leonardo. I was the Katana boy. I was the Katana, but he was Raphael. But he always got to be the Red Ranger, or then eventually the Green Ranger, so that I could be the Red Ranger. Fucking selfish prick. He's also way bigger and stronger than me. So what are you going to do? I can't beat him into letting me take it. I would go, I want to be that Ranger. He'd beat the shit out of me. All right, I'll be the Blue Ranger. I'll be the gay guy. I didn't know. I couldn't be the Black Ranger because I wasn't black. I couldn't connect to him. I love him. I think he was an excellent, excellent choice. He was a frog in one of the versions. He was just also kind of cool looking to begin with. And he wasn't the gay guy with glasses that I was. So, still a cool guy. Not demeaning him. I would have been the Black Power Ranger. I didn't feel right. I didn't feel like cultural appropriation was right at even that time. So I hope and it's still in good standing socially. But going into that school, I remember, I mean, just this one kid, and there's always stories of this, but this one kid would pull his pants all the way down and not even like hold his dick. He would just pull his shirt up too to make sure he didn't piss on his shirt. Little Steven. And you'd see, like you're a curious kid. I'd just sit there and stare at his butt cheeks, just going, Jesus Christ. Just what the fuck is going on? And then that was the funniest thing because at that age, it wasn't really weird. You knew that you probably shouldn't do it that way. You just pull the little pee-pee out and you just go, I'm going to squirt in that hole there and be done. No, this kid's pulling his pants down, lifting his shirt up, going, peeing everywhere. It was fucking strange. Like, God damn, it's funny. I can, speaking of not having memories, I'm glad I don't have memories of little girls that I was kissing as a little boy. I remember Steven's little butt cheeks like it was yesterday. I mean, these little curves, just these little bitty curves of his ass. And what a weird memory. I can see it now as I'm drinking this unlabeled beer that it tastes so good. So the funniest part about that in a kind of darker way was I just also remember like thinking about death a lot as a kid. I think, my real father had left at that point in time. And it was really weird because I blamed myself quite a bit. I think all of us kids did. We blamed ourselves quite a bit, but come to find out, we had nothing to do with it. Crazy. Was a lot further down the line of a realization, but to find that we had a lot of depression over it wasn't a shock. But like I went to therapy one time, and I just yelled at the therapist, "My mother's terrible." And then my mom stopped taking me to therapy, so it didn't really stick, But it obviously wasn't my mother's fault either. But I mean, even if it was, I mean, at least she stayed. So Becky, if you hear this, fuck you. I love you to death. You dirty bitch. The other thing was just I would always talk about death, and I remember telling kids in like the hallway of first grade that my birthday is on the 17th. That's my star birthday, and that's the age I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die at 17, and everyone would go, "What? What the fuck? This future school shooter's going. I'm gonna die at 17," and they would just go, How do you know that?" And I would go, "I just feel it. I just know it to be true." And looking back at it now, like I get why I was so like kind of dark in certain moments. My 3 girlfriends from the first school are gone. My dad's gone. And I don't know, just upset at life. I'm living with a guy whose legs don't fucking work. And my mom is very unhappy. We get my stepdad kind of coming into the picture a little bit, but I was not a fan of that guy. I thought he was very weird. I mean, we lived on this, after they started dating, we moved into his house because what normal guy wouldn't take in 5 kids that are all under the age of 7 and build a home for them? I know. This guy probably has a mustache, you might think. You'd be correct. He might part his hair down the middle. You'd also be correct. He might, from the first video, wear whitey tighties where his dick is in your face the entire time you know him. You'd also be correct. He did all of those things. I'm not lying. And if you see this video too, you know you did it. You had your sausage hanging out the entire time. It was disgusting. But we did have a lot of fun on that first house. Like me and my older brother did. We'd always go golfing in the backyard and hitting golf balls into the farm equipment and into the fucking buildings just in general. One time we're hitting it into the side of a shed, hitting golf balls into tin, which is just denting their fucking equipment. I mean, equipment being the building, but what a dickhead move. And we didn't have like nice golf clubs. We weren't killing it in the golf club game, but one had like electrical tape as a handle, and John is swinging it, you know, ding, hang out, going off the building, and then he swings another one or swings for another ball, and that just slips out of his hands, and it goes up and over and right through a window. And one of the guys working on the farm saw the whole thing, stopped it, started dying laughing. He goes, "That's the funniest thing I've ever seen. I can't believe it just went woo right through the window." So it's perfect. It couldn't have been a better shot, but it was the club, so it was actually quite a weird moment. And we broke a lot of glass there. We killed a lot of raccoons there. Remember, we were sitting, I just remember us hunting for raccoons at night, and I would go, what you do is you get in a car or a golf cart or whatever the fuck you get on, a four-wheeler, and you take a flashlight at night, and you just look for reflective eyes. A lot of felines have the reflective eyes, obviously, but so do raccoons. And at the raccoon version, you just take a shotgun and you just shoot the fuck out of them. As an adult, I know better. Raccoons aren't the worst thing of all time. I love animals to death. But as a child, again, I made the comment of future school shooter. I'm going to shoot that fucking thing dead as quickly as possible and just go leave it in the fucking yard. Awesome. And I remember just seeing reflective eyes, and I go, "Shoot over there." And my stepdad goes, "That's a cat, buddy. We don't shoot cats. They kill mice and rats, so they're good." And they go, "Why are we out here? We haven't seen a raccoon. I see eyes. Shoot the fucking eyeballs." No. You got to know what you're shooting. This is stupid. But I'm glad, obviously, but that also led into a very big appreciation for animals for me. Like, we raised pigs. It broke my fucking heart every time a pig would be dead. Not only because it was a disgusting practice. This is, again, just about 30 years ago. Every time you had a dead piglet or dead pig, you'd throw it on the kind of a burn pile. I think is what they did with it. I think they burned them. I can't remember. But, they could be disease-ridden, have an infection, you name it. So you don't eat them. You can't cut them up and fucking eat them. You don't take a chance on pork. Definitely not pork. And you just throw them into this fucking pile. I don't remember what they did with them, but I just remember being a kid going, "That's a giant pile of dead fucking pigs." And it was right next to the fucking trash barrel that I had to bring trash to. And so I'd always just go, "Oh, there's a pig in there. There's some dead pigs, all right." It was terrible. Just a weird time in that regard. I mean, pretty normal other than that. I mean, other than in that same house, my mother being so upset with us not cleaning up our toys or our room that she pretended to call DCFS on us and say that if we don't clean our room, you're going to send us to DCFS. And it got so far, not just the verbal threat, I remember vividly not only the feeling of thinking my mom was giving us up after my real father had left, and I knew he was gone. I used to cry at night and blame myself and say, "I'm a fucking loser. I mean, I'm still kind of a loser, but I'm not that big of a loser now." He was a loser. That kid version, he was a loser. Just kidding. Great kid. But I would be so depressed that my dad left, and then my mom's calling DCFS just to get us to clean our room. She wasn't obviously on the phone with DCFS. She faked a 40-minute phone call saying, "I told them if they don't do it, I got to call you and get them out of here." And I'm just going, "Holy shit, let's pick up the fucking toys. We got to get out of here." And it got to a point where, like, even she's like, "No, they're doing pretty good. Maybe we won't have to send them tonight." I remember her saying this shit. And then she wonders why we were such bad kids, like, for her whole life that she had to raise us. You're faking a 40-minute conversation that you're going to send your kids who had just been left by their dad to a fucking government agency to not be part of her life. So there's a lot of issues starting off as a child, and what was being taught or what we thought was being shown to us on a daily basis. But that was actually, looking back at it now, it was actually pretty funny. A lot of the trauma that happens as a kid, it always leads into who you are as a human, as an adult, obviously. But when you can enjoy the moment, because it really doesn't define how I think. You just kind of go, "Man, my mom was in a tough spot," and just clean up your fucking room I don't care if I got to punch one of you kids in the nose. I'm getting this done tonight. I can't imagine that level of being fed up. I've never been there. I've been in fist fights or I've had my ass kicked for pushing someone too far. I've never had someone fake I'm giving up my family so well, and to have your kids that had literally just been through under a year of the father being a reality that he's not coming back, and Ben being so good of an actor that your kids think you're leaving too. Fucking spotless. If my mom went into acting and then she just goes, "Hey, record me faking these kids not having a mom," she'd fucking win an Emmy. And she could do the same role for every movie at every show. She would still make or earn some sort of accolade. She'd still win something. That's how good of a job she did, in my opinion. Someone should have voted for her. But that kind of just like leads into like everything we did was just try not to get caught, try not to get in trouble. And it wasn't like be good. It was just try not to cause a ruckus. And even if you did, try to cover it up. Like in that same little house, we call it the first farmhouse that we lived in. It's kind of like the house on 150 is what we really called it, because it's right next to a busy highway that goes through a couple different towns, and that's kind of the main. If you don't take the interstate, that's the big main street you would use to get around. So you see a lot of grain trucks, a lot of noise. We lived on the fucking farm, very loud, and my brother and I. Well, first off, whenever my parents, well, my mom and my stepdad weren't at home, my older brother John, the absolute biggest sociopath that a kid could be, was him. I mean, we'll get to him at some point because I find it so funny to talk about like everything that is it's so hard to explain unless you like saw the videos, unless you saw like him in person. He was so difficult to understand, and he still is. He's very hard to figure out. He's a strange, and my sister and I just talked about him, just joking around, but he's an enigma to no end. He's a strange guy, but in a lot of the best ways. A lot of the best ways, he's one of the best people I've known, and a lot of the worst ways, he is the biggest liability I've ever seen. And for the most part, he doesn't get in trouble for shit, but that's for the most part. But he would watch us as kids, and his idea of watching us would be forcing us to sit on our couch, turn our backs, so we're looking out the windows. We'd have to be on our knees and watching for our parents to get home. That was all we could do. We could not watch TV. We could not play with our toys. We couldn't talk to each other. It was, where are they? When are they getting home? Let me know if you see them. And if you tried to fuck off and go get a snack, he would rip your ass apart and throw you right back on that couch. But one time, him and I are playing catch with a football in that same room with the parents not being there. So it was one of the few times that he kind of got to chill a little bit, kind of enjoy being a child. And he threw it like over my head. And I don't know why the older sibling, this is just kids being dumb, the older sibling had his back to a wall, like an actual drywall, and he had the little bitty fat fingered kid trying to catch a football from a dickhead older brother, and his back is to the windows, and he threw it like kind of hard because he wanted to give me shit. He always loved making fun of me. I've been called every name under the sun. I've been threatened with every weapon that a little boy could have. With that kid, I've had screwdrivers to my neck from that guy because his slut girlfriend, I called her a slut, and he didn't like that I called her a slut, but she really was, and still kind of is. And so when he threw the football, and I just, my little fat ass just couldn't quite get it, and it broke the window, and we just went, oh shit! But it was spring or summer; it was a warmer time frame, and he goes, "You don't say a fucking word. You don't say a word." I go, "You got it, Buster. I ain't telling anybody because you did it, and I ain't taking the blame. And if I told on you, you'd beat the fucking shit out of me." But as soon as my parents get home, he's like, "You don't say a fucking thing. You got it, bud. I ain't saying a thing. I promise you. I love you. Please do not murder me." And finally, they come home, And we didn't say a word. Just sat there watching TV, just sat there enjoying our time. And finally, my stepdad, maybe it was my mom, she goes, "Wow, I mean, it is really loud in here, isn't it?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Every time a car goes by, it feels like they're driving through the house." I'm ad libbing. I don't know exactly what she said, but it's pretty close. And we just didn't say anything. And I go, I think John told him because I was definitely too afraid to say anything. He goes, "I got to tell you something. We broke the window." She goes, "That makes total sense." I'm like, "What happened?" And I'm like, "Well, this is what happened." Like, and then John's saying, "Well, he can't catch." John, I'm not an athlete yet. I'm trying so hard to impress you so you like me, but I'm not there yet. Give me 40 years. And it's so funny. Just why the fuck is it so loud in this house? Well, there's no barriers whatsoever, like keeping that sound from echoing through the entire little bitty house we had. Oh my god! But the fear I had from that guy as a child was just immense. That little fuck was so big compared to me, even to this day. I'm not a big guy. I make fun of myself as Big Shane on this, but it's because I'm pretty small, obviously. And but he was so fucking big. Getting ahead of myself a little bit on the time frame, but like in eighth grade, he squatted 305 pounds, and if you knew the guy who was judging his squat, you would know it was a very legitimate squat. That guy was he went to state in eighth grade for the quarter mile. He was an all-state defensive tackle. He went to the Army and he was in the infantry by choice, and he signed up at 17. The guy was a lot tougher, still is a lot tougher. He's not an athlete. The guy couldn't throw a fucking, you name it, and hit any dart board or fucking goal if he had to. But he could throw the hardest. He could hit you the hardest. And that guy had nothing but pure, raw, a lot of anger, but he just had energy just fucking blowing out his ass. And I mean, it got to a point where, like, even as a kid, you just knew, like, if you're going to fight him, if you're not willing to beat the fucking shit, I mean, you're aiming right for the nose every time you punch. You want to knock a tooth out. You want to make sure that this area gets broken. You're not going to win. I wasn't going to win even if I wanted to. Like, and I aimed for everything I just said. But even as an adult, I have to know, like, that's where I'm aiming. I'm aiming to just break this whole area. I don't have that in me. He would do that if I called his old high school girlfriend a slut. He would still beat the shit out of me because he doesn't want to get made fun of. He doesn't like that he's got something hanging over his head or you have something hanging over on him. It's impossible because no one is, I mean, there are people out there, but not me, who are willing to take that to the next level like him. I have no interest of dying. I don't want to get killed. I don't want to murder. I don't want to be in infantry. I always wanted to be in the Army. I always wanted to be in the military because of him, and I've always thought it's still very respected. I respect everyone who's ever served, except for a few guys who got kicked out, or if you got a bad knee and you lie about it. And it just makes, there's a couple of stories I probably won't get to so that I can still see my family. But it's, I've never seen a guy who stuck with it and left on good terms that I thought, wow, I don't want to be them. I've always wanted to be those guys. Those guys are badasses. Women too, kind of. And, but even as kids, I just knew John's going to fucking take it to the next level. And he always did. And that kid would just beat the fucking hell out of every one of us kids. All the way up to he was a young man. And it was always trouble. Just trying to figure out, how do I survive my parents not getting in trouble? Keep stepdad's dick out of my fucking face. How do I keep my family together? My mom doesn't kick us over to DCFS. And how do I survive my older brother from not literally trying to murder me? And it was never easy, And so that kind of lands us at about first grade, going into second grade, which elementary school skips by pretty quick. So this isn't going to be a long series of who I was as a kid, but a lot of it's going to be just kind of going based off memories, and hopefully that keeps you interested enough. if you want to hear more stories about me almost banging 4-year-old girls, I think this is the wrong show for you. I will not delve deeper into that. And if anyone got uncomfortable, I do apologize. I may bring up Steven's little butt cheeks a couple times. He's a good kid. I think he's just now getting married, and he deserves everything under the sun. The kid was a sweetheart. So, Steve, this one's for you. I like you a lot. No label. Thank you for the 15 followers, or not followers, but watchers, and the 1 subscriber. This is the second episode. It's better. It's just not good. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your night.